Best game ever made.
Welcome to episode 465 of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, N64 Josh. Crawler, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? Crawl coming at you.
Cheesy, how are you?
What's going on, cheese curds?
And Johnny, you made it.
I did make it. Did the video not play, or did I just not see it?
It played.
You weren't.
Apparently
you didn't hear it. Maybe you didn't
Yeah, I
hear
was
it
playing
either.
Skyward Sword. Yeah, sorry. I was so immersed in the best Zelda game ever.
Well, before we get started, guys, I want to invite everybody into the Discord. Come hang out, come chat games, come do pipe trials with us. As this week we are doing Donut Plains 3, and you would think that an old Super Nintendo track would be one of the easiest, and it is not. It is not. It has some really, really crazy turns and non-item shortcuts that I just shake my head. I think my best time right now is 1 minute 29 seconds, and the world record I think is 1 minute 12 seconds. So I got some work to do there. But come hang out. It's a good time, and it is brought to you by The Dirt, which is the Mario Kart podcast. And I've got lots of guests lined up for that show coming soon. So come check that out. And with that, Crawler, where can people connect with you?
Best spots are TikTok and Twitter. Nightcrawler724. Nightcrawlers without the E.
And Johnny.
I'm Johnny Bo everywhere: Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and the Communication Error podcast. I almost forgot.
Cheesy.
You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Communication Error Podcast, CheezyC64, CheezyC64.
And chat just asked, why does it say I'm playing Mom Simulator? Great. So that's awesome. That's the game Twitch has us in right now. So perfect. Thanks.
Well,
Thanks,
a mod
Victor.
can fix that.
Yeah, if one decides to show up. So
you actually changed the cat when you were playing that game. You changed the category.
Nate probably
to
did
that
it.
game.
Nate
the
probably
moderators, the mods, blame the mods. Yeah,
I didn't even know that would be in the directory.
You wouldn't think, but I mean, it's if they've had Simulator 2023, they've probably had Mom Simulator 2022, and it's just like Madden. Like there's just little tweaks made
every year, just new roster tweaks.
Yeah. New moms added to the roster, so it's fantastic. So guys, what are we going to even talk about? Nintendo news is virtually non-existent right now. Every other podcast and YouTube video is Switch 2, and even that's slowly fading. Go ahead.
Wasn't there a leaked patent of a upgraded dock or something?
I saw something on Wood Beat 'em Ups, I think, that was talking about that. I didn't.
It is.
Guys, I would not trust that guy in any time during this month.
Yeah, it's rough right now for Nintendo news. Like it's just dry. There's nothing.
Princess Peach selling well in Japan.
Yeah. So we can talk about what we've been playing. Hopefully it's been on the Switch. Maybe it hasn't been. Crawler, I'll let you kick us off because I know you took advantage of the Ubisoft sale.
I picked up Prince of Persia. Been playing that a little bit. It's a good, challenging game. I guess on topic with what Johnny and Cheesy were talking about this week. I selected the second hardest difficulty, I guess. So I'm challenging myself with that game. So I'm coming up on some bosses and stuff. But it seems to be a decently sized Metroidvania to hold me over until Silk Song comes out, which is maybe getting closer because Xbox Store posted it. We'll talk about that.
I think it's
later.
also on the eShop. I think it's also on the eShop.
Is it on the eShop? I haven't looked.
Yeah, I think
Are
there's
you
an
checking?
eShop page for it.
I'm typing it in right now. Let's see. Silk. Let's see. Silk. Here we go. Nope. My controller moved over to silent. I didn't even ask for
Nothing
it
on the
to.
website.
Let's see. I'm checking.
Yeah, there's nothing on the eShop.
Wow, what a liar, Johnny.
Well, I thought that's what people were saying.
Yeah, but
No, it
this
was on the
this is
Xbox store.
how bad news gets out there. It's because people aren't informed, and then you're just
Yeah, and
lying
we're
to
not
them, and-
prepared. You know, we're never prepared. So
Well, so Crawler's been playing Prince of Persia. Any like you played it at PAX West,
Mhm.
and you said you're doing a little bit more difficult. Your difficulty's been bumped a little bit. So
Yep.
what are you thinking? Give us the lowdown. You were complaining about warthogs a second ago.
I was in a boss fight, so I mean, it's dodge. So you have like a dodge or a parry. I've kind of been avoiding parry, maybe because that window is minimized a little bit on my difficulty setting, but you can either parry or like slide dodge, and it's kind of just learn the boss attacks. It's not as brutal as something like a Elden Ring or anything like that, or not even as technical as kind of what you do in Hollow Knight, but it definitely seems like it's a good holdover right now for a good Metroidvania. I know you two down below there have at least started it, played it a little bit. Did you finish it, Cheesy?
I did.
What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I think that you can see a lot of inspiration from Metroid Dread. There's even one spot in particular that I can think of that's like, oh, this is like the Emmys. Have you gotten there yet?
no,
I
he
don't
has
think
not
so.
gone there yet. If
No.
he's at the
I saw
Okay, okay.
I saw my first hint of Hollow Knight though with the cartographer kind of similarity. There's somebody you buy the map from.
Yeah. I think it was a really great game. Probably one that's going to go under the radar. Like, when did that come out? January, right? The very
Late
first
January,
month?
I think, right? Yeah.
So it'll be amazing if people remember it at the end of the year to be nominated for anything.
Do people even know about it now? That's the thing.
I don't know. I mean, it's such a good game too, and I feel like there wasn't a lot of people that even picked it up.
Yeah, so I think they said it sold 300,000 copies in the first month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure with the sale now it will sell more. Probably over the long run it will sell a decent amount, especially on Switch.
And apparently
I
there's
did not.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I didn't beat it, but I did get to the spot that reminds me of an Emmy. And I also, before we started recording, Crawler said, "When do I get a bow?" Because in the demo you have a bow, but then the main game is not the same as the demo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the double jump too. Isn't the double jump in the demo?
Oh yeah, the double jump's not in the main game.
Yeah.
So they did change up the demo, which I don't know if
They
I
wanted to
like
make you
that
feel
or not.
They wanted to make you feel powerful and show
Yeah,
off some of the stuff.
Speaking of Prince of Persia, there's a rumor that there's another Prince of Persia game coming out this year, made by the Dead Cells team, and it's going to be a roguelike.
Is it just going to be tacked onto? Is it just going to be tacked into Dead Cells?
No, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. I don't think so. No, I think it's going to be a separate.
So it's not going to be
game.
like the
Castlevania
stuff.
Yeah. But there's also a roadmap for Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. There's like, I forget what it is. I wasn't prepared. I should have looked this up. But
damn it.
I do know that there is DLC planned, like story DLC planned. That's like later, but then it kind of reminds me of the Metroid Dread roadmap. I don't know if you guys remember when they did that. They had like the boss rush mode was going to come out, and then the Dread mode, it was sort of like that, but they did confirm that DLC is coming.
Say I got the physical copy that I purchased for $30 on sale had the pre-order bonus of some outfit, but then also an upsell to try to have me upgrade to the deluxe pack. I don't know if that comes with any DLC in the future or anything, but who knows?
n64josh.com/Amazon, and then you can go pick up Prince of Persia for $29.99 if you want. So I'm gonna be picking it up from there. So Cheesy, how about you? What have you been playing?
Same old. I'm playing Hades, but still, like, I don't know how many hours I put into that game, and I just found out that one of the characters got fired within the story. And so I'm now like, oh wait, what happened to them? Like, are they coming back? And it's just crazy how much time was put into that game, and I'm still finding new things with it. And by the time that Hades 2 comes out, I'll be surprised if I have actually finished Hades, like have seen everything, or if I still won't even be done with it.
Yeah, because everything just changes so much. Like the story progresses so much when you die and come back.
Yeah, it's very rewarding in that way.
Have you played? What is that? Is that Supergiant? Is that?
Yeah,
It's
Supergiant
Supergiant,
made.
Have you
Hades.
played Bastion or?
Transistor?
Yeah,
Transistor,
I think
yeah.
I have both of them downloaded. I don't know if
They're
I've
not
played-
roguelikes. They're different types of games.
Yeah, they're isometric adventure games.
Okay, no, I haven't, but I'll check them out.
Is Bastion the one where the narrator talks as you're playing?
Yeah,
it's
the narrator
great.
narrates everything that you do.
Yeah,
Is that good or bad?
it's kind of funny.
Well,
it's kind of
okay.
like
Yeah.
just fourth wall kind of.
Okay.
And you could get those games fairly cheap now because they're pretty old. They usually do like a Bastion and Transistor bundle
Okay.
on the eShop.
I know I picked
But
up
Cheesy
Bastion when it
didn't
was on
realize
sale.
that you did not have to turn up the heat once you cleared a run.
I think you do, though.
No, you don't.
I don't
No,
know what
you
you're
don't.
talking about.
You guys
No,
already
you
argued
don't.
for an
You
hour
could-
and 15 minutes this week about this.
You
I
could.
said I finished your episode today. I've already
You
listened to
can
you argue.
just. You can just choose the sword over and over and over again and never turn up the heat. You just won't get the items again. Like,
Yeah, but you need the items.
Not if
you
you
don't
want
need
them.
to. You don't want. You don't.
I guess you don't need to, but I want to. I want to figure out more of the story.
Yeah, but you
I
were wrong.
get
because you
what you're
thought that you
saying.
had to. So
Yeah, I get what you're saying now.
you're still wrong.
Nope. Johnny, you've been playing Skyward Sword, your new favorite Zelda game.
Yeah, I've been playing Skyward Sword. I made a video about how I don't think there's a bad Zelda game except for Skyward Sword, and then everybody got on my case about how great Skyward Sword is. So I'm like, all right, I'll give it another shot. The controls are still awful. They're still terrible. Like it's just not fun to play that game. I did motion controls at first, and then I tried button controls, but the button controls are still really bad.
I had to move away from motion when I was trying to cross the tightropes.
Yeah, the tightropes are rough with the motion, but I mean, I enjoy what I'm playing of it. I just wish it was traditional button controls. Like I wish it was just like Wind Waker or Breath of the Wild, like the ones that just have you press X to
Attack.
swipe to attack.
Yeah.
But they couldn't put like traditional button controls in when they remastered it because they would have had to change the whole battle mechanic. And but they could have still done like lock on with
Z
X
targeting.
be like a side swipe. Yeah, it'd be the Z targeting, and then like X be side swipe, Y be up or down swipe. And they could have done it that way. So I don't know why. You have to use the right thumbstick as the attack. Like it's not even a button. Like I don't know why they call it button controls. Because you're flicking the control stick.
Right. Yeah, which I mean, for me, I don't mind too much because it's like that's how I play Smash. All my attacks are with my C stick. I don't do the smash
Well, it wouldn't
attacks. I
be
do
it
my
wouldn't be
tilts.
so bad if it would actually register. It just doesn't register all the time.
Yeah.
Can we talk about
Yeah,
Nintendo
and
honestly-
keeping their NFTs though?
Here we go.
Just load up Yoshi Super Mario World 2.
No,
For 3
that's
seconds.
to get 50 points. I'm talking like there's new Mario Odyssey ones. Like
Play Odyssey.
I got it. So, but I tried to spoof it on Odyssey, not Odyssey, on Wonder the other day. Like I booted up the game, I quit the game, I booted it up, I quit the game, I booted it up, I quit the game, and it only counted it as one. So I don't know if I need to like play it and then play another game and then play it, like, or if it needs to be 3 separate days. Like it's not very clear.
The only one that I haven't, like, I don't have access to it, I think is Wonder.
And it's like I've played those games more than 3 times. Like, look at my playtime. Just let me. Why are they?
Oh, does that mean
gatekeeping?
for each one, like play,
Yeah.
like, where it's just play 3 more times?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's all gate kept.
And I can't buy it. I
No,
already
you
own
can't.
all
You,
those- I
you
already
can
own
look.
all
You
those
can look
ones.
at them and see if you need to. But like if you need to and you click on it, it's like boot up this game and play it.
Hey, we've been asking for them to give us reason to go back to stuff. They finally they heard us.
Yes.
They heard us and they were like, okay, you want reason to go back to your games? You want your backlog complete? Here's the
Is it-
NFTs. They're
and-
stuck behind it.
Wait. Oh, this is stupid. All right, hold on. I'll read you what it says. It says you can redeem points for this reward after playing related software 3 more times. If you have an active Nintendo Switch Online membership and play supporting software while connected to the internet, your play count will go up. So were you not connected to the internet? maybe?
No, I was connected and I quit the game and came back in and booted it
Oh,
up.
okay.
I
So
tried.
it says-
I tried to do the same thing and it did not work for me. And I was
Hold on,
like,
hold
I'm
on.
good.
Let me explain. It had like I'm
It has
I'm
instructions
trying to
that we didn't
explain
read.
Oh, he's prepared.
to be able to redeem points for this reward, you'll need to have played the related software on at least 3 separate days within the last 30 days.
What?
Each title's play count can only go up by one per day, and 24 hours must have passed since the previous play session. That's
take
what
it-
it says
Take
for
it
these
offline.
stupid NFTs.
It's just Animal Crossing all over again. You just got to time travel.
But it's got to be connected to the
Will it
internet.
work?
It
though?
knows.
Yeah, if it's connected to the internet, does it work?
Probably not. Probably not.
These
I don't have
stupid
time. I don't have
NF
time to go swap out cards and do that, and I don't want to do that.
They're like, they're desperate for us to play Nintendo Switch games because there's nothing coming out. So like, please don't leave us.
Also, I had a random shower thought this week, and the fact that Kirby and Yoshi demos have been different than the game.
Mm-hmm.
Peach was not that way. They gave us like the opening 2 levels of Peach, like unedited. I hadn't thought about that until like halfway through the week this week, and I was like, oh, like I think it was probably you guys talking on your show about just Kirby and Yoshi and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking about the demo, and it was just like, yeah, they didn't change it. It was the whole thing. They didn't let us play the 2 better versions
Yeah.
of the opening levels.
Yeah.
Because the ninja and the cowboy level were the better levels.
Uh-huh.
But they did have unadjusted kind of gameplay.
It was the same for the Mario versus Donkey Kong one. Like they gave us the opening
Well,
scene, I think.
kinda, yeah. It was heavily redacted, and then you got to play a boss fight, but you didn't get to play all of the stuff leading up to it.
It is weird how it seems like only Nintendo games are the ones that don't carry over. Like we've seen
like
Square do
everyone
that
needs to
a
do
lot.
what Square does. Everyone
Yeah.
needs to do what Square does, because I don't
Yeah.
want to have to sit there and do it.
I was
Just
going to
play
say
the same
something,
thing over
but the games are only 5 hours long, so
That's why you got to
like,
go back
of
to
course
them.
they don't want you to carry it over because they want you to spend more time on it.
Well, they want you to log in 3 separate days.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, log in for 3 separate things.
So I just have one question for Johnny before I go. How's Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2?
I've only played it that one time, like the first day.
With the crazy pop in.
Yeah, with the pop in and the lag. I don't know. I think they updated it, but I don't know. I'd have to go back to it.
What?
That game is 32 gigs on the Switch. Like
33.
33. Yeah, so you need an
yeah.
SD card.
I'll just wait for it to be free on Xbox. For Game Pass.
I saw your video and I just went immediately to the comments and I was just like, man, you are in a fight for your life. Every video you put out, it seems like every video.
In the chat, Victor said Johnny Bo has had a red target on his back on TikTok ever since that emulation video. That was like 2.5 years ago. That was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say it here, right here and right now. Piracy is bad.
I mean,
there you go.
But I'm just doing whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own it.
You're just owning it now.
Isn't that I think that's kind of the argument, right? Piracy is bad, emulation is not. But
yeah, I don't think I said anything about emulation.
How do you get games to emulate without piracy? But then if it's games that are lost in licensing,
that everybody clearly does.
Yeah. What if I'm only emulating the games I own physically? Is that allowed?
I think technically
the U.S. government says yes. I thought the government.
No,
said
I think
yes.
I think you have to physically dump your ROM. Like I think that's the actual law. But I mean,
yeah. So I mean, technically, it's like you can only emulate things that you own, and technically, you're supposed to get that ROM by pulling it off the stuff you already have.
I'm sure everybody that uses emulators does that. I'm sure 100%.
So Kitty Kong said Battlefront Classic Collection I got and love, but I only play single player like I did when I was a kid. And that was most of your comments in that video.
Yeah. People were saying single player, but the big
draw,
I think selling point with this collection
it's
is
64 person battles, right?
Yeah, 64 person battle online. Like that is the selling point. I don't want to play. Like I'm sure the single player is good. I don't know. I haven't played the single player, but that's not what I want to play it for. I want to play the online stuff.
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Well, I've been doing a little bit of gaming. All right, a ton of Mario Kart, and I will say this. I think I've been getting better at Mario Kart, not just from like playing the game, but like the overall strategy involved with Mario Kart. Like now my favorite place to be in is second place with 2 red shells. And I just wait for the blue to take out first. And then I finish the race. Like it's kind of become my favorite thing. And then learning the bag, like the technique for bagging where like you hang back. And I don't have that one completely nailed down yet, but I've had a few different races where it's like, you have a star in like 8th place, and then like you transfer that into a bullet, and then everybody gets lightning, and all of a sudden you're like in 2nd or 1st, and then the race is over. And it was like, this was crazy. I just spent most of my time collecting coins and running through item boxes and not seeing anybody, and now I'm winning. Like it's I don't know. It's just it's changed the game for me, and it's made it a lot more fun.
Do you play 200cc or is it 150?
I mean, I can play either, but mostly still mainly 150. And even doing like the Mogies that they're called and the stuff over in like that big Mario Kart Discord, majority of it's 150.
I wonder for the next Mario Kart, they'll have 200cc, right? I wonder if the tracks will be more designed to accommodate 200cc, because when Mario Kart 8 first came out, there was no 200cc.
And if you look at the newer tracks, they flow better at 200cc.
Yeah. The newer tracks definitely are better for the 200cc. They're just wider and
it's less. You have to do less drift braking on the new tracks.
Right. even finding new shortcuts, which is kind of crazy. 10 years, now some of them are new because they're from the wave 6 and the different waves that have come out, and like, but even that stuff is like, because there's a lot of shortcuts that I'm finding, not a lot, but a handful of shortcuts that I'm finding where it's like you can go airborne, and then if you just pull back on the stick and then rotate to the left or right, you can end up cutting a bunch of the track, and you may not, it may not be something that you thought you could do previously, or you didn't, I think that Piranha Plant Cove or whatever, I think is one of them, where it's like you're at the top of those stairs, but if you pull hard to the right and then pull back on your stick, you float a little higher. And I found this out recently on Big Blue. Right after that first big jump, the track splits, and if you stay to the left and then you cut hard right as the wall ends and then pull back on your stick, you can float right into you miss the items and everything, but you float right into the coin path or whatever, and then you're back on the track, and it saves you. The biggest shortcut is 200cc right there. You can actually take that to like an entire different section of track if you can hit it right, and it's wild, and it's I don't know, again, it's crazy playing a game so many hours, so long. But we're doing it every day on TikTok. It's been a blast. And I have another TikTok spotlight this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. So if you guys want to come hang out for that, it was crazy last time. We had at one point 571 people in the stream and like average 250 for 3 hours. So if you guys want to get some races in, it gets pretty crazy. There's a lot of us playing, and you get to hear Bowser get shocked every time somebody does a gift. And sometimes he goes crazy. So that's been fun. I jump back into Peach. I will say the ice skating was some of the most charming gaming I have done.
Told you.
Like ever. I was just like, wow, this is like Luigi's Mansion immersion going on. Like, she's not just skating, she's doing different moves. If you make her go backwards, she look like the animations were incredible. Like, I was very, very impressed. I'm in the middle of Detective Pikachu right now, and that I don't know, but it's like it's a little bit
kind of
like,
a wet blanket for the game, right?
It's like playing a highlights magazine, and it totally aged myself. But I mean, that's kind of, but it's like not very
that's
hard.
Like the second time in 3 weeks you've mentioned highlights magazine.
I know. Anytime I get the chance, for some reason, I'm not sure why, but
so what you read at the dentist office, man.
Exactly.
I think for me, it was like the weakest part of Princess Peach, but the second act of the detective play is better than what the first act is, but it still is not like great.
Yeah. The game's kind of taken a little bit of like, it does have a little life of its own, which I like. The first 4 levels was like, okay, like I get it, but like it's not just those same 4 levels over and over again. And so it seems to be like, I tried to put myself in the place of like a little kid doing some like playing, and it's like this, it's a relaxing game, right? Like I'm not sweating my face off like I am in Mario Kart these days, So, I'm enjoying it. Still doing tiers, still just taking my time on that, doing shrines. I get so excited when I find another, like I see the smoke of the green swirl, like, and I'm only doing just a couple here and there. Like, it's nothing. It's just, I'm really taking my time with it. And then played a little bit of Vampire Survivors, and haven't really been back in that game since I purchased the DLC or even some of the updates that they've had with like Among Us, and all of a sudden the list of characters I have to unlock is massive. Like there's a lot to do in that game. So,
and they updated it to show, like, before they didn't have like the shadows of the characters that you need to unlock, and then it has like a little how to unlock this character. They didn't used to have that, so you had to like look it up. I like that they added that, and there's so many characters now.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I knew there was a lot because, like I said, my uncle was playing it, and he was like showing me all of the I'm like, what? How is there that many? But like now seeing all those shadows, like you said, I was like, that's a lot. So so that was kind of cool. Just getting back into that. Hadn't done it in a while. And then I want to point out Nate has mentioned over and over again, and I just watched the video prior to or while you guys were talking, and Aaron as well, both mentioned Berserk Boy, and it's on sale on the eShop right now for $16. It looks like an amazing Mega Man X game is what it looks like. It really, really looks good. It reminds me of Gunstar Heroes meets Mega Man. And Gunstar Heroes is already a very Mega Man-esque game, but Gunstar Heroes, I don't know if you guys have played it, but it was kind of like Sega's version of Contra, more or less, like kind of. And that's just some of this is giving, like, Berserk Boy is giving me Sega vibes. I don't know why. Maybe, Nate has played it. He says it plays excellent. Aaron's recommending it as well. But Nate was also recommending, of course, Penny's Big Breakaway and Sea of Stars. So there's been, we've been hearing those like the last couple weeks. So, but
yeah, and I beat Pepper Grinder. I beat a game.
That's right.
I did. I downloaded that demo and I played it. I'm contemplating if I want to pull the trigger on that. But you saying how short it was, Johnny, made me kind of.
Yeah, it's super short. It's like, I think 4 or 5 hours.
I was having fun. Like the demo lets you play, I think, 3 levels. But you don't get there are boss fights in that.
Yeah, there's boss fights. The boss fights are probably the best.
I kind of wish it would let you do a boss fight then in the demo. But
there's only 4 of them, so it's probably why. The final boss fight was super frustrating. That took me a while to beat the final boss fight, but I did really enjoy the game. Like I said, it's super short. It's 4 or 5 hours long. I didn't 100% it, so I could go back and try to get all the collectibles. It's a $15 game, so I feel better about paying $15 for a game that short as opposed to $60 for a game that short.
Keep the gloves up there, buddy. Keep the gloves up.
Well, most Nintendo games really. So like Mario versus Donkey Kong, shorter than
Mario Wonder.
Yeah, well, Mario Wonder is super short, but I love that game. Peach.
I just bought Berserk Boy while we were sitting here. The trailer was enough for me. So
if you also like Mega Man X style games, there's a game called 30XX.
Mm-hmm.
And it is essentially Mega Man X. It's a roguelike.
Right. I have 20 XX. I don't think I have 30, but I have the first one that came out on Switch. So I think I did a review for it. Which
30XX.
I liked how I played, but I the roguelike stuff, I struggle with it. It's a struggle for me. So
it's weird that you like Vampire Survivors because that's essentially a roguelike.
I think because it's just that it plays like an arcade style shooter versus like a Metroidvania or something, but then it's like it's not really a Metro. I don't know. I need to play more of them. I need to play Hades. I saw it on my Switch the other day, and I was like, Cheesy wants me to play this. I know he does.
Like, I just want you to play it. Like, it's a great game, but for you, I just want you to listen to the music. I think you would really enjoy it.
Or you could just turn on Taylor Swift like I did and get the same experience, if not better.
Interesting.
Oh,
okay. Good to know. Is it kind of like Swift and Hades? Like, is there a particular album I need to put on at the same time or anything? A certain starting point?
No, just any Taylor Swift album. Yeah.
You just
1989.
You boot up Netflix and you just play the movie with it.
Oh, Disney Plus. Okay, perfect.
That's where it is.
The Eras tour.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I love roguelikes. They're like my jam. I know they're
Well,
pretty much every game at this point, but or every
a
indie
little bit.
game.
Yeah. So Crawler brought up a good topic, and I think we're going to kind of hit it from two different fronts right now. So Nate said in the chat, he's like, indies are carrying right now. And it's kind of true. And we're at and we talked about it in my chat today while we were racing Mario Kart about how everybody just looks like it feels like gaming is in a very weird space. You have companies like Warner Brothers that are looking at the overall market and going, we're not going to waste time putting out $60-$70 single player games anymore. Everything's going to be games as a service. And so then you're going to have Sony doing some single player games. Xbox has a single player game coming out next month that's probably going to be very, very well received.
What,
But
Hellblade? Is that coming out next month?
Yeah. But it's also on Game Pass.
Going back to
right?
Warner Brothers, they're also trying to stick a round peg in a square, like a square peg in a round hole, by having teams that are historically have done a really great job with single player action adventure, third person, whatever it is, and giving them way too much time to put out a game that was horribly received and eight years behind the trend. I mean, it's almost like they tried to do a Destiny clone for superheroes after after that trend had fizzled out. So they're way behind chasing trends, and then they doubled down on it in their investor call, which just seemed really weird.
And what's even weirder is they're the highest selling game last year, and
they don't want to do more of it.
Yeah, it was a single player game. Like, what the heck?
Because that's a gamble, and you can't guarantee that happens. It's like,
if it was a Suicide Squad single player game without all the live service stuff, it would have been received better.
Without you,
it would have sold better.
You think so?
Without 100%. It's a Rocksteady game.
I either read or heard that you do something kind of unsightly to Green Lantern, and
it's called Kill the Justice League.
Yeah,
so.
but first off, why would people want to do that?
I'm with Crawler. That's why I don't think it would do as well anyway, is because you're killing your heroes, and I just don't know how people feel about that.
Well, I think it was. I didn't play it. I haven't played it. I don't know if this is true, but I think it has something to do with multiverse stuff. Well, or other worlds or whatever.
Yeah, it's alternate universes, I think, or something like that.
But Rocksteady is known for the Arkham games, right? The very well received Batman action. You have Suicide Squad, which is a fairly known IP. People were really excited for that game when it got announced.
Yeah.
Then when they showed gameplay, it had the whole purple blob issue where you were just shooting purple blobs. And then it came out that it was going to be a live service game. And that just killed all of the hype. If it was just another action, say it wasn't guns, every character has guns, it's a shooter. Say it was more like Arkham, where Harley Quinn is a melee character. You can still have Deadshot be a shooter, but it could have been a much better product if they thought it through.
Or didn't have to make it so universal for each character to not be drastic changes.
Yeah. And that's where that live service comes in, because people, I think you can play with other people. I think it has co-op.
And you look at Destiny, there's 3 different character types. They all have different jumps. They all have different super abilities, but in the grand scheme of things, they all play about the same. And that's what they were looking for, I think, was consistency with Suicide Squad. And the 4 of us are talking about a game that none of us have played, but
not prepared.
It got enough kind of ill will from everybody that it just and then the fact that WB doubles down saying that they want to make more games like that.
Multiverses is
it
coming back.
Makes investors happy.
Investors aren't going to be happy when
I doubt Suicide Squad made them happy.
when nobody wants to buy a game or play a game, and there aren't people in the ecosystem to buy the premium currency. Like how's Capcom is getting by a little bit with just how good the reception is
Dragon's
on Dragon
Dogma.
right? But like the negative press that came out that week, it was like a sweet and sour kind of thing where you had to how much money was some of that stuff? It was like very expensive.
Oh, it was so the whole issue with the Capcom games is it's not just Dragon's Dogma. There are other games do this too. I think even Monster Hunter did it, where they have these microtransactions that are like $1, $2, and it's for like consumable in-game items that you could get in-game. And they were definitely in the Resident Evil games, the remakes. So people are like, well, why are you bringing it up now? They've been doing this for a while. And I still think that it's feels gross to charge for consumable items. So you could buy items that help you revive yourself. There's fast travel items, but you don't get to keep them. It's just a one-time use.
Hey, EA sells us air for the football in Madden, so I mean, what you know?
Yeah, I mean,
EA also sells you fake trading cards in a game that are
people love it.
That are completely worthless after the next iteration of the game comes out.
That's the dopamine hits. That's the gambling aspect of it.
I mean, you can understand where people are still wanting to make live service games because we just had like some survey come out just this week that was like the biggest played games are 6 years or older, and Fortnite is at the top of that list.
Well, Fortnite keeps iteration though. That's the thing.
True.
I will also say, like, in 2 or 3 years, we're gonna have Helldivers clones coming out. But I feel like with Helldivers, like I'm not missing out. Like the community is helping me get stuff. I log back in and I get like 80 war bonds to go and or medals or whatever to go spend on my war bonds because the community as a whole is doing stuff. And the creek was just liberated and I'm going to get a cape that I didn't really have to do anything for. It's just there. But like, so they're taking the FOMO out of live service, which is actually kind of nice. The fact that the community as a whole is just doing it. And me as being a participant at one point in time, like I get to reap that benefit. So
I can log in and just get all that stuff.
Yeah, it's there.
So Helldivers was smart. That is a video game. Like they did not.
Yeah.
I can't say the other word on this podcast, but that is a video game. Yeah, exactly. Like that game does not take itself seriously, and they know it. And that's what I think. That's what Suicide Squad did wrong. Like they took themselves way too seriously.
Square peg round hole kind of thing. Like I was saying.
Helldivers, like they were smart about their marketing. They're still smart about their marketing. And I think more game companies are going to start doing that if they have these types of live service games, that they're going to lean into the wackiness of like what a video game is.
I hope 343 is actively developing a Helldivers clone right now. I hope that Titanfall, like who is that? That's
Respawn.
Respawn is making something.
And I'll add to it. And I hope Retro is paying attention, because if we could jump into a game like that with all of our own bounty hunters, like Samus,
Federation Force comes back.
You could work with Splatoon too. Yeah, you could have a little task force that takes out the Octolings.
There's so much in the chat I want to grab. Kitty Kong is God says I just got Plate Up, which was a fun roguelite. Nate says indies come up with all the cool ideas, and the big buck triple A's comes and tries to steal the ideas and incorporate them in their own stuff, which does happen. You know, Cryptic says people buy a $20 Fortnite skin. $1 for potions isn't a big deal when you have to go out of your way to find it.
Yeah, but you don't get to play
I get to keep my Fortnite skin, though.
Megatron. Yeah.
As long as you don't lose your account or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and when I said earlier that that's what makes the investors happy, that's what gets them to write their checks. But if they don't keep the consumer happy, they're not going to get the return on that investment, right? It's like it's such an interesting dance that these companies are having to do. And if they don't have that brand equity that I would say Nintendo definitely has, and that Sony has, but it feels like it's on it's getting to be on thin ice, right?
How's
Where it's
Foam
like
Stars
they're
doing?
gonna,
Is it still up?
yeah, yeah. So, Krempus says, "Yep, indie games are made by smaller dev teams with much less overhead that move more quickly than a bloated AAA studio full of execs at the top. Not to mention, new AAA games are competing with Fortnite for playtime. So, creating a new and interesting single player game is much less likely to generate a profit." And it's very true. And the thing that kind of blows my mind is the amount of people that I know that play Fortnite on their Switch on a regular basis. That is their, I mean, and it's I played Fortnite on the Switch for a while. Like I would play handheld.
And you had to have it installed on your internal memory to have it load better.
Yeah,
but there would be times where you would load onto mismatched unloaded geometry, and you would just like bounce on it,
sit and float, and weird stuff happens. But like that game does, it still has enough of a dopamine hit, and people want to be playing it, and they do such a good job of like I 1,000% believe that Fortnite is skill-based matchmaking, but nobody talks about it, and they do a great job of loading the lobbies with bots because people can win even if they're not that good at the game, and that victory royale is
keeps you coming back.
And then you get they have all these different pop cult, like they're leaning into all the different pop culture, Transformers, Turtles. Like I am such a sucker for that. Star Wars, like you're literally playing with I'm running around as the action figures I used to play with as a kid, right? Like they just do it right. Like you can go from being a Predator to a Terminator to a Xenomorph to like it's
and now
crazy.
Now they even have more games within Fortnite. Like there's the Lego Fortnite, there's the rocket racing stuff, there's all the community built stuff.
Yeah. And Cryptic says, aren't we all wanting Nintendo games to be live service? We talk about it every week. Mario Kart, Smash, Animal Crossing. I still think Call of Duty does it right. As far as they do a single player game that has multiplayer and they keep Warzone going, right? So if Mario Kart had a free to play multiplayer that had battle passes, I think that's great, but keep that free to play. If they lock the multiplayer behind the $70 game and then charge battle passes, they can flex that brand muscle. Maybe it works, maybe people still do it, but hopefully they see that there's some anti-consumer stuff going into that. Like I don't feel personally, I don't think it's a good play. What
Nintendo
I still buy
making anti-consumer decisions? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. It sounds good. And then it looks like Nate saying even COD still offers single player, and well, never mind. Let me finish. Yeah, right. So it's all I'm saying is that model I think is great, and it looks like we're getting rated by Kyle Driver. What's going on, buddy? So good to see you guys. Welcome in, everybody. We are doing the Nintendo Powercast live right now. So really, really good to see you guys. We're just talking Nintendo news and games and topics right now. So the thing is this next generation, I feel like we're kind of we're in a stage of preparation where it's essentially like Nintendo probably has another generation of being able to make the single player games, the 6-year dev cycle on like a Zelda game. And I mean, Mario Kart's been in development for what we can assume is, probably 6 to even 8 years, maybe. I mean, the game Mario Kart 8 turns 10 years old this year. And, they gave Wonder that team as much time as they needed. They were like, you guys have as much time as you need to get this game out, and they still sell with that that brand loyalty and those brand muscles that they can flex. But we've also got all this stuff transitioning to like it's not just games as a service, but you look at Game Pass, and Sony has their version of it as well. Nintendo's got to be thinking about that. Like, they've dipped their toes in the water with Nintendo Switch Online. It's just such a strange time for gaming, and I think indies are going to have their I felt like indies really, really started to shine at the beginning of the Switch's life cycle, and I think now is the time for them to shine that much more, because there's such a lull. Like, you've got Xbox has one major title coming out, and now of course they've got all of those other brands that they just recently purchased, but their biggest launch recently is Warzone Mobile, right? Which, I mean, is going crazy. I can have drops in that game if I stream it on TikTok right now. Like, it's
they got all their games coming to Switch and PlayStation. Like, we're getting grounded.
They
in
do
2 weeks,
and the rumors, which gets into Crawler's topic idea for tonight, is if Xbox releases a handheld, which seems to be that's just the talk of the talk of the web this last week. Will you pick something like that up, and will that be the place to go to play indies more so than the Switch? And Johnny, I'll start with you, because you just put out a video saying I'd rather play my Switch than my Stream Deck, right? Or Steam Deck. I'm sorry,
Steam Deck,
not Stream Deck. Steam Deck. And so Stream Deck is the Elgato device. But what do you find yourself? Will you play Balatro on your Steam Deck or on your Switch?
So I have it on both, and I put 30 hours in on the Switch version, and I put like 2 hours in the Steam Deck version. The only reason I would play Steam Deck, and if we're talking about, my point for the Steam Deck was not everything on Steam works on the Steam Deck, and you don't really know until you try to buy it. So there's like Deck Verified, there's works on Deck, there's doesn't work at all, and then there's like I don't know. You figure it out. So it's a little frustrating. So if Xbox were to release a handheld, I would hope that all the Xbox games, like, I don't know if it would be kind of like the Steam Deck, where there's this.
Phil went on record and that's what sparked this whole thing. So Phil was interviewed by, I forget what it was, but it was during kind of week of GDC, and he pretty much said that he wanted to just have a device that would you could know that your games would work.
Okay. That's more appealing. And then for your question about indie games, there are a ton of indie games on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if you have the handheld with Game Pass, like, that is such, I would buy it 100%. I'm a Nintendo fanboy, so I would still get the Switch 2 or whatever's next. But having the ability to play Game Pass on a handheld is so appealing to me.
I'm right there with you. That's huge. That would be because at the end of the day, you would end up saving money, right? With your
For sure.
subscription and your cost of your device. And I I don't see Xbox saying, "Hey, we're going to make a device that doesn't hook up to a monitor and allows you to play with a controller," right? Like, or even have potentially have an Ethernet port or something that's like USB-C to Ethernet or something along the, like
Yeah.
I could see them going that whole route to where it's like this still works as a console, but you can take it on the go, and if you can download your games, right, and then still run some of them off the cloud as well, like that's such a huge win. And I'm still a sucker for achievements. Every time one of those things pops, I'm just like, oh,
Dopamine hit.
my score. Yeah, that little dopamine hit, my score is still getting higher. And I love most of the Xbox games. So it's an easy purchase for me.
Cheesy, would you venture outside the Nintendo ecosystem if that was a handheld?
Yeah, it's a tough question because obviously I'm not really familiar with what Microsoft puts out. And yes, you would have Game Pass, so it's nice that you would be able to play those games. But also, part of the reason of picking up a handheld would be for the IP. And if they're not really putting out anything, then I don't know what it is that you have to look forward to other than games that are in the past, if that makes sense. Like, those games are fine, but also I think the reason why the Switch does so well is for its IP and its upcoming games and maybe future IPs.
There are upcoming
And
games
also,
on the
you
Switch.
have those games in the past. What did you say?
Don't worry about it.
He said there's upcoming games for the Switch? Question mark?
Endless Ocean. We didn't even talk about that tonight. That looks great.
It does. Yeah.
I know you
So-
guys are
so
laughing,
Mark-
but
you
it looks
are-
like
so
it looks
you-
like a cozy good time.
Cheesy, you are a Nintendo fanboy through and through. Xbox does have IP. They have good IP. Hellblade 2 is coming out in a month. That's going to be awesome. Fable is going to be great. They just said Gear 6 is in development. They have Forza. They have a ton of awesome IP.
And even some third-party stuff. They were the home of Titanfall. The only home of Titanfall.
And they have all the Bethesda stuff. They have all of the Activision stuff.
We're going to get Perfect Dark maybe sometime.
Yeah.
In the future.
Banjo. Maybe
eight
we'll get
years from now.
Banjo eventually.
Well, they need to get Crash and Banjo together for their own kart racer.
Toys for
And
Bob
Toys-
Toys for Bob is rumored to be working on Spyro. So
Yeah, they're doing Spyro. So yeah, Microsoft, just give them some time. Let them cook. Let them cook.
I want to grab Nate's comment here. It says, "Yeah, nobody wants to play COD handheld against sweaty players playing natively. You'll get washed." So I will push against that only because I currently have a controller that my phone syncs into, and it is nothing more than an Xbox controller that has been split. You can swap out the sticks to whatever your style is that you like best, and it is literally two sides of an Xbox controller that go over my phone.
yeah, because the only reason why Switch handheld sucks for first-person shooters is because the throws on the sticks are
So short.
You're jumping all over the place because those throws are too short.
Also, the FPS, like just the FPS.
The frames dip quite a bit.
So,
And it's only max 720p. And
do you think if Xbox were to release a handheld, they're known for like powerful, like Xbox Series X is, I think, the most powerful console.
until PlayStation, I think, is supposed to surpass it with whatever their next iteration
9400
is.
teraflops.
So if we get a Switch
whatever
2,
that is.
if we get a Switch 2 that's only as powerful as the PS4, and Microsoft releases whatever their handheld is, that would probably be stronger, more powerful. Like, would that pose a threat to Nintendo?
So
I don't know. Is this the same conversation that we had with Steam Deck?
Steam Deck is a premium priced product. It's what's the original one now is down to like what you can get one for like
For about
$300
the price of a
$400, I think.
Yeah.
It's come down in price a little bit, but like You have to put a decent amount of money in on the back end if you want storage, or actually no, you can't do an S. You have to buy the SD from them. I think you can do expandable with a micro SD, but that doesn't get you the fast loading like hard drive. But and it's like what Johnny said, where it's a crapshoot with what your Steam library has that it might work. I think people have on Reddit and other kind of forums have walked people through how to bootleg into Game Pass on Steam Deck, but it's not easy. I think if Xbox were to do it, it would be the same draw that Switch had, where it just works. Here's the games. I mean, it's gotten worse over the years where the games don't always work that well. Even Nintendo's own stuff doesn't work that well. But if it works out of the box, and especially it's the same draw of people that had a decent Steam library. I like Josh and I think Johnny even too. Like there's plenty of people out there that have a decent library, and then with Game Pass, you have the entire first party backlog plus the future that's coming out plus anybody that they partner with to bring those games day one onto Game Pass. Like Persona 3 was day one when it came out on Xbox, was there. So if it just works like that, and if Silksong is coming to Game Pass day one, and I can get achievements, and I'm something I'm already paying for, if the Xbox handheld can deliver on that and it runs and it potentially has a dockable feature, because that's the biggest thing that I enjoy going if I'm going to go somewhere, even for a weekend or whatever. The Switch is easy enough to pack up. I have the Hori covert dock, so I don't even have to bring a big dock. I can just plug it in. I can get an HDMI cord to a TV, and I can have my Switch wherever. It's that easy to transport. So if the Xbox One can do something similar, then that's a no-brainer for me. And that becomes kind of everything that my Switch is doing, minus first-party Nintendo stuff, shifts to that Xbox, back to Xbox for me. And which Xbox has kind of been my least played platform in the last probably 5 years, except for a handful of first-party stuff that I can only do there. And Nintendo, the Switch 2 becomes just a dedicated Nintendo machine, and especially since this is probably, if Nintendo sticks to their guns, is probably the last physical media console that we're maybe going to see. I've already gone kind of digital on both Xbox and PlayStation, because even though the game is on the disc, you have to download the entire contents of it onto your hard drive anyway. So why have just that piece of plastic that is just regurgitating everything onto my hard drive anyway, and then it's just I need the disc in my system to even be able to play it. So I've kind of, on those two, I've kind of just shifted to digital only. So I think that just makes it that much easier with Game Pass. That would be my main kind of go-to, because I have the hard drive, the box here at my desk, and then I can have something for elsewhere in the house and vacation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because in theory, all you would have to do is buy the handheld, and then you would have access to this library of games for like $15 a month. Like that's
Right.
like Cryptic says in the chat. If the Xbox Series S was a handheld, I think that would be the biggest sell. The Xbox Series S is actually selling. I think it's selling pretty well, or it was selling pretty well. I think it's selling more than the Series X.
I think
And it's
Baldur's Gate 3 probably was the worst marketing campaign for the Xbox Series S. I mean, that in and of itself being kind of scapegoated as the reason why Baldur's Gate 3 didn't come to Xbox right away, I think hurt it. But if they can turn it around with a handheld, I think that would be better.
Well, that's one game though, right? Like, and
But it did decent damage being the scapegoat though. This console is the reason why Phil Spencer's pushing this parody narrative and then they finally relaxed it due to that game. That was the reason why. But I don't think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because other games had struggled. Even Xbox internally had struggled. I think Turn 10 or Playground, who was it Forza proper, or was it Horizon that was struggling on the S?
I'm assuming the main Forza.
So I think it was Turn 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that you're saying, I kind of like, because I think remember the narrative when the Switch came out? We want everything on the Switch, right? We wanted Doom. We wanted everything. And then that narrative switched. Yeah. That narrative changed. I think Xbox releases a handheld. I think the narrative switches to that, where it's like, I just spent my subscription fee on one indie that I'm not saying that necessarily would be on Game Pass, but they would push hard. Like, they get more and more, people in that ecosystem that allows for more and more, and devs make money on Game Pass. Like, indie devs make the cost of their game is covered. And then people still end up, because the games, it's like renting, and my camera froze because of that stupid thumbs up that I did.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, thank you, Apple.
Yeah, it's the Mac thing. That's a Mac thing.
Yeah, hopefully I'm back. No, I'm just a black screen. Awesome. Well, who knows if I'm coming back or not? We'll see. But the other thing is like, I like that idea of Nintendo having competition, like really having competition in that department, where it's like, they're wanting us to play a game 3 days in a row right now to get to spend the platinum points. What am I going to go and pick up right now and play handheld in the lull that we're having? If, on the Switch, I'm going to go to that Xbox device more than likely, because that $15 a month, I guarantee you right now, there's probably 75 games I've never played on there. Right.
Halo just had a new season come out. I mean,
Diablo 4 just showed up on Game Pass, and that's, playing that in handheld mode, give me that. Diablo 3 on the Switch is phenomenal.
Do we ever see
Fortnite?
Yeah, do we ever see Game Pass come to Nintendo?
No, I think they're too proud.
I think they said no. When they talked about,
if they're going in a handheld direction, obviously that would be their main seller, is Game Pass. But they have been buddy with Nintendo, and if they decide to do that, they probably would get more subscriptions, depending on the people that just have a Nintendo handheld.
But if they're going to introduce something that is a almost direct competition to that, they have people like at least the three out of you're kind of the outlier, Cheesy, but I think the three of us would all gravitate to that device being our main handheld device, or hybrid, whatever it could be. Even if it's not a hybrid, it's a hybrid for us, because we all three have the main box, and it can live on our nightstand next to our bed, and it can be the easier way that we don't have to take our phone and put it into cloud gaming and get a backbone or whatever it is device to do that. It's just dedicated for that, and then it's there, and it's the ease of use with especially if everything on Game Pass is integrated into a handheld form factor. It's all there. And
I do want to think about costs, though, right? Because right now it's $500 to get a Series X to get these games to all run fantastic, and that's with a terabyte of storage, and having 5 games.
We're at least looking at $400, if not more.
It would be a.
I mean, that's what we're looking at for the
premium
Switch too.
Device.
Yeah.
Yes, and so we're if we want these games to run better, or at least as good as they do on a Series S, it's not they're still selling it at a loss, but they're going to hopefully make that back in their subscriptions. And to go back to Cheesy's question, I think the only way Game Pass works on Switch is if it's only first-party Xbox games and you don't have their indies coming over, because I think that cuts into the bottom line of Nintendo's eShop making money on every indie sale. So they would have to do some kind of a special plan that was like, if you're already a Game Pass owner, you can maybe play games via cloud. Because that's the other thing. You're not going to have enough, like this iteration of the Switch, unless you're putting everything on an you have a massive SD card. But I mean, look at games like Warzone and that kind of stuff that are technically Xbox games now. But if the initial thought and the beginning of the conversation was like for indies, right, and maybe not the AAA, that's where I would gravitate. Like to have a endless supply of indies for $16 a month. That alone right there is like, yeah, that's where Vampire Survivors started, right? It's probably a one of the reasons that so many people played it right off the bat is because it was on.
And on top of that,
Game
you
Pass.
get Call of Duty and Diablo and Halo and Forza and everything else mixed in on top of that.
This is honestly the way that they should go. The more I think about it, I think Xbox should do handheld because they lost the PlayStation. They lost that battle. There's no,
and they've conceded that too.
Yeah, there's no point of trying to compete with PlayStation anymore. Now go after Nintendo. See if you can take out that market because they want to break into the Japanese market.
That's how they do it.
Putting a handheld device in there, that's how they would do it. And they have the Japanese titles now. They have the Persona games are on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
And Monster Hunter, I think, is on Game Pass. Like, this is the way they should go. So let me call up Phil Spencer and tell him this is the correct way. This is what you should do. And I would love.
They're getting a Kojima game here in a little bit too.
I forget what that one's even called.
Is that OOD or?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember. He's working on 2 games right now. So one is Xbox specific and one is not. I don't know if it's PlayStation specific only or not, but
I think the big question is, does Xbox come out and sell another device at a loss just to get subscriptions? And is that profitable in the long run? That's what, that's the numbers that would have to be crunched. And I know it's probably weird to say on a Nintendo show that I would like to see something like this come out, but like Nintendo was on the ropes when the Switch came out and we saw their best years ever. And that's what I want to see with the next Switch as well. Like it was like there was a steady stream of games. They were trying new things with ARMS. Like Splatoon 2 was right there. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They bookend the year with Zelda and Mario. Like 2017 is probably one of the best years in Nintendo gaming. Period. But it didn't slow down. Ultimate was Smash Ultimate was an event. Animal Crossing was, it hit at the right time. I don't know that will ever, I don't know that they will ever have that kind of like TikTok and Animal Crossing got us through a pandemic. You know what I mean? Like,
then they put those games out to pasture way too soon.
I think the next Animal Crossing will still be. I think the next Animal Crossing will still do well. I mean, the pandemic created a whole new genre of games with the cozy games.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different audience.
I would be willing to bet Animal Crossing made Stardew more money.
Yeah.
I saw how many copies does Stardew sell?
Well, and Stardew just had an update come out a little while. Like that guy is still churning out updates like 8 years later.
Do you know Johnny, what game's coming?
The millions, I think. I don't. Let me see if I can find it.
It's playable on everything. Isn't it? Can you get Stardew on your phone?
I think it was like 30 million. It was a lot. It was a lot more than I was expecting. It was like 30 million or 50 million or something.
$30 million.
That's a lot. That's a lot for an indie game. That's a lot for any game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insanity. Like that guy's doing Scrooge McDuck, swimming in money bin, like for sure, So, but it looks like, I mean, look at chat. Competition makes for better products. Better products keep other companies in check. Like market share brings innovation, right? It brings like when they start like, I mean, it goes back to Sega taking half the market share of Super Nintendo, and then look at what they did with the end of the Super Nintendo when Donkey Kong Country came out. Sega executives thought they released a new system, and Rare figured out how to make clay come to life, essentially, on the Super Nintendo. And then the 64 came out, right? But then PlayStation was like, hey, here we are with discs. It's cheaper.
We can do it for half the cost.
And, and then, the GameCube and the Xbox, and it's like, and it's not like, the 360 was an amazing time for Xbox, and PlayStation still outsold them with the PS3. That number still to this day blows me away, because it's like, how is that even possible? But
I think they just kind of make up numbers now.
Yeah, apparently that's what Jim Ryan just did, right?
He's just like, oh yeah, the PS2 actually sold 160 million units. Get out of here, Jim.
Yeah. So Nate says, however, I do like the richest company being in last place. It means that they're the needy ones and have to please the customer. And I'll take it. Speaking of Xbox and Microsoft, Cryptic says, who knows? Maybe we'll see a challenger in Apple or Amazon to enter the console handheld market to shake things up. Nintendo led the way. The Switch was the NES for gaming. It showed that the NES showed that console gaming was still alive and well. And, what Atari and Intellivision and ColecoVision, all those things, they flooded that market, and Nintendo came in and they were ruthless. They were like, they took up the retail space. Like everything was strategic and like cutthroat business.
Yeah, because they promised all the retailers in New York that they would buy back anything that they didn't sell. That kind of guarantee gave confidence to the wholesalers to put it in their store, and it got it in front of people. And as soon as people saw it, they were willing to buy it and play it because it was a good product. They had confidence, and they were ruthless in their delivery. And kind of, I mean, talking about Apple.
They did that against Nintendo of Japan's wishes. Nintendo of Japan said no refunds, and Nintendo of America was like, we're not going to sell these if we don't offer this. And they did it anyway.
We need that kind of Nintendo America back going against Japan a little bit. But kind of, I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago or however long ago we were talking about Vision Pro. Eventually, I think that becomes our Ready Player One scenario where we find a way to not that Apple needs more money or power or influence or whatever, but if they're going to innovate the VR, AR goggle space, it's going to be them that win out and find a way to eventually get their $3,500?
Yeah.
Price way down and feasible, or in some kind of way, subsidized in some way, kind of like your phone is by somebody. And that just becomes not that we need to be more cocooned from everybody as it is, but if it can be more immersive, and they're going to be the ones to probably innovate it and do it.
I can't wait for the day that we have Super Mario Brothers in AR, and I can just sit and make Mario run along my counter and jump over different decorations.
That was an IGN April Fools? Yeah.
The IGN, that one was pretty good, and then I did Game Explain's April Fool's joke, the Metroid Golf. Make that game.
I mean, I was just thinking the way live circuit is or whatever, how it's that combination of.
Did you watch the IGN video?
Now that you
They
say
had-
it,
they
it
had
just
it-
came back to my mind where, like I had
they
forgot
they had
about it, but when you
a
mentioned
Mario
it, I was
running
like,
on your
oh,
countertop. Yep.
gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, we're at an hour 20 minutes, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. This was a really fun topic. Honestly, great job there, Crawler, grabbing that one out of the air. And guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. And I think one of the topics I saw somebody mention, and it popped into my mind. I wanted to get one of the things I want to do is, if you guys have indies, bring them next week. All right, bring them to the show, because I want to talk about as many as possible. But I thought Cryptic may have said something, but I'm scrolling back, I'm not seeing it. So I'll look through and see if I can find it, because there was something in particular that I was like, oh, that might be an interesting topic to dive into. So we appreciate you guys so very much, and we will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.